So the third type of dress is the full dress, that is the dress worn in the evening. Again, there are rules for men and women, because of course men also took part in all kinds of formal social occasions, but we'll talk today mostly about women because it's more evident and more indicative. The general rule was, the fuller the dress, the more revealing it was. So low cut neckline, sometimes also low cut back, short sleeves. The less formal evening dresses were a bit more covered up, but even then they would be usually less covering than day dresses. So they would differ, perhaps not as much as the different types of day dresses, but then again there could be different fashionable occupations in the evening, such as a dinner party or an ordinary dinner visit, let's say a smaller dinner party in more, let's say, intimate circle of friends, or a bigger dinner party with more formalized entertaining, a reception with dancing, or a ball, again different types, whether it was in a private home or some public place, like, I don't know, the opera houses sometimes held big balls for many people. So balls and dances, also theater or opera visits or concerts. There could be private concerts, or again at a place of entertainment. It all was reflected in the clothes. So of course the most elaborate, the most formal dresses were those to be worn in public places. So let's say at the opera, or at a big ball in a large hall or palace, rather than in a private home. And if there was dancing, of course the dress would be more formal than in the situation when there was just sitting. A plane passing. I hope it will pass. Showing you some pictures while we are waiting for this bloody plane to pass. There are many pictures, you can just start watching pictures. Okay, so goodness me, I hope you noticed some examples of evening dresses in the previous set, but here we have some more, and we are going back to the beginning of the long 19th century, so the 1790s again. Here is a fashion plate with a selection of opera dresses, so there is an indication even in the magazine what kind of occasion these dresses could be worn for. Then we have some dresses from the neoclassical period, and I hope you start noticing elaborate hairstyles or hair decorations, like with feathers or with jewelry, or with elaborate things like decorative turbans perhaps. Also trains, so the kind of elongated backs of skirts, very popular in the evening. Not so much, at least until the 1870s, during the day. Jewelry, live flowers, fans for fanning yourself after a dance. These are really the things that are quite typical for evening dress. You have some comparisons here. For example, here you have a plate from 1818, which compares this kind of early romantic, very late neoclassical dress, either a day costume or an evening costume. Note the choice of colors, note the length of skirts and the of sleeves and the décolletage and the accessories such as live flowers for hair decoration in the evening. The dresses follow the current style. They follow the whatever was fashionable at the moment. So in the Romantic period, when the general fashion was for slightly shorter dresses, the evening dresses would also be a bit shorter. But I hope you can see the difference. An elaborate hairstyle rather than the elaborate hat, short sleeves rather than long sleeves. Very often the short sleeves would be worn with long gloves, but there would be the short sleeves anyway. Sometimes with some semi-transparent over sleeves, but the main sleeves would be short. Here, the plate from 1831 is quite interesting. It shows the difference between two types of evening dresses, two types of full dresses. One is a regular full dress, the pink one, and the one on the left is the most formal dress you can imagine. That is the court dress, the dress that would be used for the presentation at court. So with the train, with the feather headdress, I guess, I'm not sure you can see the live flowers here, but they would also be required by the court protocol from a debutante. So as you can see, there could be quite a difference between, let's say, a formal dress and an extremely formal dress. Then in the Victorian period, we have a fashion plate with 3 evening dresses. They could differ in decoration, in style, in color, much depended on the social position and marital position of the lady, but also on her personal taste, like what she liked. And one woman in the middle is wearing a day dress, and the gentleman actually is wearing an evening garment, so dark clothes with white waistcoat. So he would be really the one to accompany the lady in the evening. Sometimes these dresses could be quite simple. Like here we have an example of a surviving specimen, probably worn by a young unmarried woman. As you can see, it's quite simple, but it has shorter sleeves, it has lower décolletage. This would be perhaps worn by a teenager coming to her first ball or something. More of the Victorian fashions. Here we have a very interesting one from the 50s, really showing the contrast between an evening dress worn by a younger woman and an older woman. So you can see the older woman has darker color, although the dress is the same shape and basically also quite decorative and formal. Also, the younger woman is wearing live flowers in her hair, and the older woman is wearing an indoor cap. So she really wants to look very respectable. Sometimes you might have, for slightly poorer ladies, the clever inventions such as a dress with 2 bodices. Here we have an example from the 60s, from the crinoline period. So this is the same skirt with 2 bodices, one for the evening and one for the day. So a transformation robe, or to use the French, the la robe à transformation. Excuse my French, really. With shorter sleeves and lower décolletage in the evening, and longer sleeves and higher neckline for the day. The dresses, the evening dresses, really follow the fashion closely. So whatever was changing in the shape, in the trimmings, in the colors, they would follow it a lot. So here we have the crinoline fashion from the 60s, and then the bustle fashion from the 70s. From the 80s, there is a short period between two moments when the bustle was fashionable. We'll talk about it when we talk about bustle fashion. So the general rule is these would be very fashionable dresses because they were very expensive dresses, and only rich ladies could afford them because these would be the only ones to take part in social functions. So the last ones come from the Belle Epoque, including the dresses from the Worth Atelier. And in a moment we'll talk about the underwear.